You know that feeling, right? If you're a developer, a founder, anyone who builds things, you've got this brilliant idea, you are so ready to go, and then it hits you. That sinking feeling that you're about to spend the next 200 hours writing the same exact boilerplate code you've written a dozen times before. Authentication, billing, basic pages, it is such a drain. Well, today we're looking at a framework that's designed to make that whole problem just disappear.
So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll get right to the heart of the problem that pretty much every developer faces. Then, we'll see how it hits SaaS founders and digital agencies in two totally different ways. After that, we'll dive into the solution, the Urban Broccoli framework. And finally, and this is the really fun part, we'll look at the actual, measurable economic impact of this approach.
All right, first things first, let's talk about this universal pain point. And I mean, this is not some small niche issue. This is a massive bottleneck that quietly sucks the life, the time, and the money out of practically every software project today.
And this quote it nails it. There's this thing called senior strategy drag, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's when you're paying your most talented, most expensive engineers to do work that is, frankly, boring. They're stuck doing the plumbing, the scaffolding, instead of building the cool, innovative features that actually make your product special.
And what's wild is that this one problem creates two completely different nightmares. If you're a SaaS founder, this repetitive work absolutely kills your speed. But if you run a digital agency, it directly attacks your bottom line, eating into your profit margin on every single project.
So let's take that first path, the founder's path. Their whole world is a race against time, a race to get from that initial spark of an idea to actually having paying customers. For any founder, momentum is everything. But what happens? They get bogged down for weeks, sometimes months, rewriting code for things that are already solved problems. User login, password resets, subscription flows. Every single hour they spend on that stuff is an hour they're not spending on their core idea, all while burning through that precious startup cash before they even know if people want their product.
Which brings us to this critical concept, validation velocity. That's the ballgame, right there. It's how fast you can get your idea in front of real people to see if they'll actually use it and pay for it. Your survival depends on it. And all that scaffolding work, it's the anchor weighing that velocity down.
Okay, let's switch gears. Let's talk about the second group, digital agencies. For them, it's not about validating a new idea. It's about execution. It's about delivering great work profitably over and over again. You see, agencies are in this constant battle to stay profitable. They get trapped in this really expensive, really frustrating cycle of hiring developers, training them up, and then watching them leave. And what does that lead to? Shrinking margins, inconsistent quality from one client to the next, and this feeling that you can't grow without just hiring more and more people. It's not scalable.
What agencies really need is something we could call outcome insurance. Think about it, a system that basically guarantees you can deliver amazing, consistent results for every single client, every time, while protecting your profits. That's the secret to scaling a service business.
So we've got two different builders with two very painful, very expensive problems, all stemming from the same root cause. So now let's pull back the curtain on the solution that tackles both, the Urban Broccoli framework.
Now, Urban Broccoli is a rebrandable SaaS starter. But please don't just think of it as a template. That's not what this is. It's a complete front-end system. It's designed to be a strategic asset, a rock-solid foundation that you can build literally any web application on.
So what does that mean in practice? Well, for starters, you're not beginning with a blank folder. Right out of the box, you get a whole suite of polished, professional marketing pages. Your homepage, features, pricing, it's all there. Your entire public-facing website is practically finished on day one.
And this is where it gets really powerful. Beyond that marketing site, you get all the complex, essential application routes built for you. The entire login, sign-up, and password reset flow, done. The core dashboard layouts for things like projects, users, and billing settings, they're already there, just waiting for you to connect your unique back-end logic. It's a huge head start.
And because it's built from the ground up to be white-labeled, rebranding is unbelievably fast. You're not hunting through hundreds of files for some rogue color code. Nope. You just update a couple of config files, swap out some images and text, and bam! In minutes, not weeks, but minutes, you have a totally rebranded, production-ready app for your next product or your next client.
Okay, features are cool, but let's talk about what really matters, money and time. Because this is where a framework like this goes from being a nice-to-have to a serious competitive weapon. Just
Look at this table for a second. The difference between building from scratch and using a structured framework isn't just a small improvement. It is a night and day difference. We're talking about huge shifts in cost, in speed, and ultimately in your profitability.
For an agency, you're looking at something like a 48 times increase in speed. A client project that used to take a month, maybe 2 months to even get started, you can now compress that down to minutes. That doesn't just make you faster, it fundamentally changes your entire business model.
And for a founder, this means you instantly get back over 200 hours of development time. That's 5 full weeks of a senior developer's salary, 5 weeks that you can now invest in building the actual product people will pay for, instead of just the shell that holds it.
And finally, we get to the bottom line. For agencies, this is so direct. By cutting down those labor costs and getting way more efficient, they can see an absolute increase in their profit margins of 10 to 15% on every single project. That's not just an improvement. For a service business, that's a genuine game changer.
So if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's that Urban Broccoli is not just another tool or a starter kit. It's a totally different way to think about building software. When you decide to build on a framework like this, you're making a strategic choice. You're building on a clean, scalable foundation. And that makes your projects what we call exit-ready. A clean, standardized codebase is incredibly valuable and attractive to anyone who might want to acquire your company down the road. It adds real, long-term value to what you're creating. And in the end, it really all boils down to this one simple question. Your time is the most precious resource you have. So, the choice is yours. Are you going to spend it rebuilding the same foundation over and over again? Or are you going to spend it shipping the product that actually matters?